Yeah, we thank God for yet again another opportunity to engage together as leaders. And as we said from the very beginning, when a leader becomes better, everyone else becomes better. And that's the spirit of this program, is to better ourselves as leaders, which in turn will help us create a better environment wherever we are, probably from our inner circle space at a personal level, and also more closely at a home or family level as we expand the network. And we said every time we get into this class, I think our perspective is to think global, think in terms of the bigger picture, and at the same time to be able to lead local, which basically means taking the initiative where we are, taking the initiative where we see there is a need for probably change or something to be improved. That's the reason why we are there as leaders, just to be able to drive change where necessary. And at the end of it all, it's about transforming our environment to transform the world. So we happy just to continue with this conversation today. And I will start first of all by completing something that we left pending last time in our manual. So if you have your manual ready with you, I want us just to, there's a page that I want us to go through and to be able to sign that page. So let's go together on page 7. On page 7 of our manuals. On page 7. So I trust we all have our manuals. I think from this team, we are okay with that. So page 7, there is we have a part on our commitment. There are 5 statements there of our commitment. And maybe I can request if Sammy, you can take us through this. Sammy Lubia, if you can take us through this commitment, the 5 of them. You can read through as we follow. So Sammy, if you can hear me, if you're in a place where you're able to read through.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well, Sammy.
Okay, let me go ahead. About this program, below is a statement of commitment. Read it carefully and sign on the dotted line. My commitment, number 1, I will attend the sessions consistently, on time, and prepared. Number 2, I will share my personal experience and maintain confidentiality of discussions. Number 3, I will respect and honor other people's opinion. If need be, I will objectively critique with a view to learn or enrich discussions. Number 4, I will be open to change, to learn, unlearn, or relearn. Number 5, I will commit to share the knowledge entrusted to me to other reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others.
Yeah, so those are a set of our commitments, basically just to help us enrich our engagement. And then there is somewhere there where you write down your name, and then you can indicate the date. You can put today's date, that's okay. And then the signature down there. And then the leadership challenge, I commit to be a transformational, purpose-driven leader who not only knows the way and goes the way, but also inspires others to embark on their journey of purpose towards the fulfillment of their vision. And we are saying, know the way, go the way, and show the way. So those are a set of our commitments, and just feel free to put your name and reflect on those commitments, even as we continue with the discussions. And the main idea is just to be able to help us to enrich our discussions in a more value-adding setup. Okay, so if you've done that, if you finish, just give me an indication so that we can take some reflection a bit on what we did last time. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chege, indicating you are done. Mary Joan, if you are able to hear me now, let me know. Okay. So Sammy, are you okay? Are you done now in that part? Okay, thank you so much, Sammy. So we want to spend a few minutes just to reflect on what we did last week, what we went through last week. And I will want us to engage on this. Since we are not many, probably we'll just create one group and allow you just to have about 10 minutes to reflect what came out strong from our last discussion, the key points. As a team, you can discuss around that. Then when we come back, we can discuss a little bit more on what we handled from the overview and also the lesson one, and maybe even in what is coming out from the commitment and the challenge. So just a reflection of what we did last time and the key outstanding issues that were very strong. Want us just to engage on that. So we'll give you an opportunity. We'll put you in just a small group, in a group for a few minutes. I think the first thing will just to maybe also to get to know each other much better by having a quick introduction. And anybody can lead that discussion in the group. And then we'll reflect on what we did last time for 10 minutes, and then we'll be able to come back and continue. So I guess that is okay. Probably since we are not able to communicate well with Mary Joan, I'll still be following up on her to see if there are any challenges as the rest of us. Actually, the two of the Edwin and Sammy engages in the discussion. So I'll try to get to Mary Joan just to make sure we are flowing together, and also probably to alert the others that we are moving on. Is that good? Yeah, so let me just do that now. Okay, so we'll do a very quick recap. Edwin and Chege, whatever you're able to cover for the few minutes, and then we'll be able to proceed as we try also to engage others. So feel free for 8 minutes just to discuss that, and then we'll be able to continue. Okay, so you can join the group. We only have group 2 or room 2, where you'll have your discussions, and then you'll be able to come back to the main room for the discussion. Greetings, Mr. Asava. So I don't know who was standing in for the team. Whoever was standing in, you can just give us an overview of the discussions that we had in the group. Or maybe, I don't know, you had some discussions as a team?
Joseph, you are asking about us and Sami?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can give this opportunity to Sami to lead us. He was very, very fluent and very, very, very eloquent. My brother, maybe you can start us, please.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, Edwin, I can see you throwing me under the bus, but you also had some good pointers, and I think I'll give you an opportunity to maybe add something that I may have forgotten. I would say for those 8 minutes, we have shared a lot. And just to go straight to our reflection. So number one, what we learned was, as a leader, you need to put greed out of your mind. You need to be someone who's ready to give, someone who's ready to offer. You need to be someone who can motivate people. To use Edwin's word, if you ask them to jump, they will ask you how high, and you need to tell them jump this high. And because of the motivation that you've given them, they will be ready, they will be willing, and they will jump as high as you've told them. Number two, if you want to be a leader, you want to change your environment, then you need to be ready to change yourself first. So the change starts with yourself. You need to be ready to go out there. You need to be ready to take initiative and be the first one to see a problem and see a solution. You also need to be ready to appreciate different people that are around you. There are those who will take time to think about something. I mean, they want to bring in that analytical thinking. There are those who will see a problem and see the solution straight without maybe taking a few seconds thinking about it maybe. And as a leader, you need to know how to control these people. You need to know how to lead these different people towards the direction that you are heading to. And as Edwin said, he took up some roles around the estate, and just to try and showcase his leadership and try to put it into practice. Me, I've also tried to initiate some things in my life. So what stood out mostly is our leadership skills are starting at the individual level, and they have not maybe extended it to the workplace yet, but mostly we are exercising it in our individual life and around where we stay. And what we also captured is salvation is something that has really impacted and helped us to try and showcase our leadership skills. Maybe at this point, I would like to invite Edwin to maybe add something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lusami. Thank you for that. It was quite fluent and eloquent. Yes, just to add on some few things, one of the things I also saw about leadership is that you have to be selfless leadership. And you remember there's an example we had just shared with you where I told you that sometimes you may find yourself in a position of leadership and you are a team of people, but you find the team is not really gelling. So you find you are the one who is having to do almost everything. And that quote really caught me because I realized that actually that issue of selflessness should be in me. I should be there not expecting, of course, any glory, but just there to try and do my part or for the sake of the group, and in turn maybe wait for the group also to gel and so that we can go ahead. Because some of the things I also saw that it's also as I said earlier, I think haina shukrani. Most of the work that you may do may look like it has there is no gratification, there's no payment, of course, most of the work that we do. And you find yourself now challenged, do I go ahead? You have questions in your life. But that issue of selfless leadership also, I caught it. Then there is also the issue, the other issue which we said of, yes, of integrity. Just being honest, ethical, truthful, yeah. And I realized that even it happens like an example which I saw, and because I'm a family man and I have children, I realized that in the home front is not what you tell your children, it's what you do, the actions. So it also means that you really need to create a good atmosphere for in whatever that you do. You have to be morally upright. Of course, I'm not perfect, but it's something that you work on a consistent basis in whatever that you do. Yeah, so thank you. I think I can stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sami and Edwin. Mr. Sava, I don't know if there's something you can also comment on the last week's discussions.
Thank you. I found the communication, the conversation going on, and I just feel to add on something that has already been mentioned, but though in a different way, but I like also to put it in my own way. As we discussed last week, what came out of the discussion was leadership begins with you as a person, and it begins on a number of aspects. One of them is, how do you manage to lead yourself? You cannot become a leader of any group, any unit, if you are not able to lead yourself. So the leadership begins with you, challenging yourself. If I can be a good leader, then first of all, I have to lead myself. And many aspects has to do with how do you lead yourself. So it is a way of coming out, leading yourself, and be able to lead others effectively. So that's one of the areas that I feel I was challenged, and it's an ongoing challenge even to each one of us. And as I picked something from the conversation of Sami and the brother Chege, leadership, one has to sacrifice. You have to come out after being able to lead yourself. Can you challenge yourself and come out sacrificially so that you are not just, cocooning yourself with the skills or ability you have to use it out for the for the good of the society around you. So it is just not being a leader. It is also, can I exercise that power and authority to where you are? And I believe that's what we are all called out for, that we should not just keep what we have, but use it for the glory and honor of God. Use it for the common good of the society. I can add on that at this level.
Good. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll continue with the conversation. We'll be able to also bring in Richard, who is joining us today for the first time. And also we'll engage more, I think, with now Mary Joan, since the network seems to be a bit stable. But let's pick it up from there. You remember the 5 C's that we talked about last week? Competency as a leader, competence in terms of probably your own profession, becoming better. And that's also another area of commanding influence and service. We also talked about the issue of clarity in terms of the vision and direction. Also the issue of character in terms of authenticity and the purity of heart and integrity. We mentioned about conviction in terms of purpose and meaning for you as a leader, and also helping others to serve with a sense of meaning and purpose. And then the other C that we discussed was the compassion. So we said, as a leader, I need to show love and I need to show care, because someone says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, how much you are concerned about them. So those are the 5 C's that we mentioned last time. We also talked about the 6 I's of a leader, the integrity. We talked about inspiration, a leader being a person of integrity, integration, being able to work together with the people, impact, and also intelligence in terms of becoming better, which can also relate to the issue of competency. And then all these are channeled towards what we referred to as the 1T, and that is the competency. So in brief, that's what we handled. And today we are moving on with lesson 2. Lesson 2. In our manual, you can check from page 11. So we're talking about the leadership gap. And as we get to just to have this conversation about the leadership gap, there's this story here about J.F. Kennedy and the janitor. J.F. Kennedy was the 35th president of US. So he happened to visit NASA headquarters. And basically NASA, we know, this is an entity that deals with space exploration and a lot of research in terms of scientific research and many other areas. So when he visited this place, he met a janitor, a cleaner. And this story gives us a deeper understanding of why. The why behind what we do, because the why behind what we do is very important, even when it comes to issues of leadership. So when the president was walking around, he met this janitor, he introduced himself to the janitor, the cleaner, and he was mopping. And he asked him this single question: what are you doing at NASA? What are you doing at NASA? So the president has walked in, met a cleaner, mopping the floor, and he introduces himself as the president, and then he asks the cleaner, what are you doing at NASA? Maybe you can take a guess of the most likely answer that this janitor gave to the president. What is the possible answers that the janitor might have given? If you can just comment either in the chat or just unmuting and mentioning possible answers that this janitor might have given. And maybe even some of you might have heard this story, but even if you haven't heard, you can take a guess, possible answers, either in the chat or just unmute and mention. You can take like 2 or 3.
Maybe, maybe if I was the one being asked, what are you doing here? If my responsibility is to do the cleanness, I will mention that I'm making the room clean, conducive for everybody who is working in the space, in the room. I'm just doing my job to make sure that everything is clean so that the dirt does not affect the operation of the organization or the office.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Sava. Doing my job, making the room clean. Thank you. Another person. Any other opinion, same or different?
Yes, maybe I can comment.
Yeah, Mr. Edwin.
Maybe I can. Okay, because this is the president, I could tell him, maybe Your Excellency, sir, if I was not here, this place will be a pigsty, and you will not be able to even enter this place. So I'm here to make it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Edwin. One final one. I'm also checking the chat in case there is any on the chat. One more. Maybe Mr. Sami or Mr. Richard or Mary Joanne. Possible answer to this question by Mr. President. Yeah, just feel free to reflect on that even as we continue. We can still be able to share on the chat. This is what the janitor said. This is what the janitor said. Yeah, he said, I'm helping put a man on the moon. I'm helping put a man on the moon. Just think about that answer. This is someone who is mopping, someone who is just doing some cleaning. And then the president asks him that question, and this is how he responded. I'm helping put a man on the moon. And basically, we are saying that this janitor, he understood the bigger picture of the organization, understood the vision of the organization, and also his part, and he had a purpose in what he was undertaking. So he didn't define what he was doing in terms of a role, but he defined what he was doing in terms of the bigger picture of the organization. And this is a challenge to us as leaders. Mary Joanne, you are saying, I'm acting as a steward to pave way for people who will come after me. Yeah, very true. Thank you, Mary Joanne. So I'm helping put a man on the moon. And I think this kind of answer makes someone to be more self-motivated, helps you to be more self-motivated. It helps one to be able to appreciate that the role is not the destination, it's not the end goal, but the role is adding up to something bigger. And all of us are working towards the bigger picture of the organization. So this message is able to be appreciated at all levels. Then we'll have a more motivated team, a more focused team, and a team that will be able to probably be more productive because they won't reduce what they're doing to a role, but they will be able to fit it into a bigger picture. So I think we just need to think around these kind of discussions. Any opportunity we have to engage with our leaders, try to provoke them in terms of the bigger picture thinking, using such kind of illustrations, so that we are able to appreciate how we are interconnecting as leaders and how our roles are interconnecting. Most of the time when I'm talking to the church leaders, when we are discussing about this, we always try to look at those who are doing those roles that might look as if they are so minor, but without them, we can't win souls out there. Without them, we cannot be able to achieve the objective of the organization. So everybody appreciate each other, and everybody appreciate that we are all interconnected. So the leadership gap, as we look at the leadership gap, we want to start from what James Stroke wrote, and he said that everyone can lead because everyone can serve. Because leadership, as we said from our introduction, is authenticated by service. If I am a leader, I'll be able to demonstrate that by taking the action to be able to serve. We see this from the life of Jesus himself. There are many occasions he took the lead to be able to serve the disciples, washing the feet, serving them the bread, serving them the drink, and many, many other occasions where he demonstrated this principle so clearly. But we are saying this is a democratized role, basically meaning that everyone has a role and everyone has a responsibility, starting from a self-leadership, growing it from the inner circle and expanding even to the global environment. So it's a democratized role, it's everyone's business. However, not everyone is leading. So the potential, the capacity might be there, but not everyone is showing leadership. And from a research that was done by World Economic Forum on the global outlook for 2015, lack of leadership was singled out as number 3 global challenge facing organizations. And this was quite a major issue, because 86% of the people who were interviewed, they indicated that leadership is a crisis. There is a crisis when it comes to issues or the areas of demonstrating leadership. And the crisis is both in business, government agencies, the NGOs, the education sector. It cuts across all these areas and all these sectors. So, and this is an area of concern. And when we reflected about this as Global Leadership Network, we felt, I think this is something that cannot be shelved, not something that can be assumed. It's something that requires deliberate, intentional effort to make a contribution so that we are able to see how do we reduce in this gap? How do we add in terms of dealing with this existing gap? And this coming even closer home to Africa. It's said that Africa remains a net importer of food, although it has 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. Yeah, and there's an estimation that the arable land in Africa, if it was to be cultivated with the right kind of knowledge, information, and tools, then Africa will be able to feed over 60% of the world population by 2050. So from the statement, the purpose statement, we said the potential of a person or even an organization or an entity, the potential or the resources determines its potential. But again, how we optimize that potential is dependent on the leadership. So this gap, it's at the global level and also at the Africa level, and even closer home in our own country. I think we have quite a number of examples that we have seen, those organizations that have been shaken because of issues of leadership. These are just a few, but there are quite a number of so many other organizations that have gone under, basically because of the challenges of leadership. So the gap requires very, very deliberate discussions, very deliberate conversations, so that we see how possible do we come in and make a contribution in this area. So the Center for Creative Leadership was able to identify the leadership gap, and today's leadership capacity, according to them, is insufficient to meet future requirements. So 4 major important future skills were identified by a survey that was done by this organization. And among the weakest competences for today's leaders, which are also very, very important for the future leadership, are these ones that you can see on the slide there. One is inspiring commitment, leaders who are inspirational, leaders that are able to inspire commitment, not manipulate commitment, not forcefully make the people to commit to a task or a role, but being an inspirational leader, probably by setting the example, probably by living with the 6 eyes or demonstrating the 6 eyes that we talked about, the issue of inspiration being one of them, the issue of integration, being able to work close with the people, the issue of impact, being a person of impact, either in terms of empowerment or in terms of results, the issue of integrity, amongst other, the issue of intelligence. So inspiring commitment, and then leaders who are able to lead employees and also set a model that others may be able to emulate, and also strategic leaders, leaders who are able to think ahead, and also probably to think far ahead, and come up with a clear strategy on how we're able to address or fulfill the objectives within the strategic planning. So leaders who are able to engage in a strategic thinking and strategic planning. And then finally, leaders who are able to manage change, lead change, and to be able to manage change management. Because from the introduction, we indicated that we are living in what we are calling a VUCA world. A VUCA world, basically we are saying it's volatile. The environment is shifting. We said that it's uncertain. We are not sure if the action you are taking will really solve the problem that is on the table. And we also said there is quite a lot of complexity within our environment and even ambiguity. So in such kind of environment, change is so rapid. Change has become the norm. So a leader who is able to lead in terms of change management, this was also identified as an area that was lacking. So maybe we'll also reflect a little bit today in terms of the gaps. What other gaps do we feel we are experiencing in terms of areas that we need to improve as leaders? We have just mentioned a few: leaders who are inspirational, leaders who are able to lead employees and model the way, leaders who are strategic thinkers, and leaders who are able to champion or manage change. I'm sure there are other areas that we can identify. And I think as we will be breaking for another 10 minutes or so, we can discuss around that and see how to be able to reflect on ourselves, reflect on our teams, and also be able to identify areas that we can be able to come in. And another survey conducted by NBO Group Limited. This is an Asian company. It identified 63% of business leaders who indicated that there's high need for leaders who communicate effectively in the organization. So effective communication amongst the others that are listed down there. Again, here, from these results, you can see again, leaders who inspire trust. this time is more specific. Leaders who inspire trust was the highest, 67%, followed by the others, leaders who communicate effectively, who build effective teams, transformational leaders, and also leaders who are able to empower others through coaching and mentorship, and innovative leaders. So these are some of the gaps that, in addition to the other gaps that we saw in the earlier slides. So from this survey, to be able to improve leadership capacity, then we need to be intentional, strategic, and tactical, so that we look at the gaps and see how well are we able to meet or close down on those gaps. So the survey was able to identify 5 steps to help both the organization or the individuals to be able to bridge the gap. So these are the 5 steps. And the first one is to perform a leadership needs assessment, either at a personal level or at an organization level. And this is something that will come up clear as we continue with our discussions. Level 1 is more on self-awareness. So we'll be trying to see where am I having some gaps? Where am I low in terms of my leadership? Which areas do I need to boost? So is it in communication? Is it in strategic planning? Is it in strategic thinking? Is it in change management? Is it becoming more of an inspirational leader? Is it becoming more of a leader or more of a manager? So we'll be looking at all this around our discussions. And then from there, you create a leadership strategy. So basically, we are saying we need to have a plan, a more intentional plan in terms of how to address those challenges that we have identified. And that comes also with clear and specific goals and strategies to be able to address the gaps, and then create a system so that it becomes more of something that we can track, something that we can be able to follow through a process, knowing what to do, when to do, and how to be able to undertake the task in terms of meeting the gap. And then the 5th stage is basically to be able to evaluate. Are we meeting the targets? Is the system effective? Am I becoming better? Am I improving? Are there better results that are coming? Am I becoming a better leader from this system of addressing those challenges that have been able to identify in terms of the leadership gap? So this is something that I feel we'll need to take it up and probably reflect on it more, either at a personal level or also at an organization level, just to see how well do we enhance our leadership capacity. So lesson 2 is quite brief, and this is the leadership challenge for this session. We are saying, as steward of this present age or this present generation, we must face the challenge of developing, training, releasing, and reproducing a generation of leaders who can secure this generation and the next generations. And therefore, we need to reflect on the 3 questions from the survey, and to be able to respond to these questions in a more authentic way. So in our manuals, you will be able to see the leadership challenge on page 13 and page 14. And I want us to reflect on this briefly for a few minutes. And the first reflection that we'll have, in addition to the areas that we have identified, are there any more additional areas that we feel there is a gap and which we need to discuss as leaders and see how to be able to fill that gap? So we have talked about it: leaders who inspire commitment, leaders who are able to lead employees, leaders who are strategic thinkers, and leaders who are able to lead in terms of change management. So we look at this and see, are there other skills that we feel are critical, either now or in the future, for us to be able to offer better leadership? So There are 3 questions there. The first question on page 14, what leadership skills and perspectives? Perspectives, we are just talking about the thinking, the mindsets are critical for success now and in the future. Yeah, so some of them we have mentioned, but we can add more. And then how strong are the current leaders in these critical skills and perspectives? If we do a survey of ourselves and our surroundings, are we able to gauge where are we and how do we enhance that? And then number 3, we are saying how aligned is today's leadership with what will be the most important skills and perspective in the future. We can be able to look at the trends of what is happening in terms of globalization and the rapid shifts. And maybe we can take a guess, are we able to cope with what is happening now with the current leadership skills that we have amongst us? So I want us just to take a few minutes just to reflect on, maybe we may not have time to look at all the questions, but if the 10 minutes that we have, we'll be able to see how much we cover. Look at the leadership gaps that we have discussed, and maybe add 1 or 2 other or 3, depending with the time and the perspectives that we look at it. And then just look at the other questions and just be free to discuss it from whatever angle that you feel is appropriate as a team. Okay, so I will just get back to the groups again briefly, have these discussions, and then we'll come back and just conclude together. Okay, so Richard, I don't know if now you're able to communicate well where you are.
Yes, I can hear you well, very clear, really.
Karibu sana. Maybe you can just introduce yourself briefly, just your name and probably your profession, and yeah, so that we can be able to know you.
Okay, I'm Richard, my India. I'm married. One wife. Business. Yeah, wait. With the minister, I'm serving the ministry of trade and worship. That is me. No, I'm doing business. Anything more you would like to know about me?
Okay, thank you, Richard. You are breaking a little bit, but you were able to get a little bit about you, some little information about you.
Oh, summary. What did you get?
Yeah, we got the name and you're married.
Yeah. Okay, then from there, I said I'm doing business.
Okay.
I'm in interior design business. I'm doing glass and aluminium. Running a shop at Kayole Junction along Kagundo Road. And also, I'm also doing another side hustling, a small business, selling milk and also selling the cocoa gas.
Okay.
That is not a smart cook. So that is me now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Richard. Yeah, I think we'll connect more as we continue with the discussions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Asante. So we'll have, I think we'll have 2 groups. And then we'll just discuss briefly in the groups. And then we'll come back and conclude together. Is that good?
Okay, which group? The groups are?
Yeah, so
I'm hanging there.
Yeah, so I'll put you in a group now. Yeah, I'll put you in group 2 or room 2. So room 1 will have Edwin and Sammy, and then room 2 will have Asava, Mary Joanne, and Richard. Yeah, so just for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and conclude together. Okay, so let's take any direction in our discussion, but mostly focusing on the leadership gap. Then we'll be able to do a conclude together after our discussion. So feel free to join the group. Then we continue with the discussions. We can continue and join the groups. So Mr. Richard, you can be able to join group 2. And also Mr. Sava, you can join group 2. You can join room 2. Yeah, so Mr. Sava and Richard, you can join room 2.
Yes, I'm trying to get into my roommates forum.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Is it automatic or?
Yeah, it will indicate like join, and then
then I click on the join.
Yeah, click on the join.
All right.
Yeah, Richard, probably you can also click on the join. Yeah, Richard, if you can hear me.
No, okay, where is my join? I'm trying to see.
Okay.
I'm trying to see my join where it is. I can't find it. I can't find it.
Oh, you can't find it? Okay, let me see.
Richard, you can hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Richard. I can't see my other colleagues. I can't see Mary.
Yeah, probably.
Joanne.
Probably you can just continue in this room. I can let you discuss in this room.
Yes.
For the purposes of time. And then
Yes.
so just Mr. Sava and Richard, you can continue in this room.
All right.
Okay, Asafa, yeah, you are the master now. Help me.
Richard.
Yeah, I'm in the mono.
Richard, put on your video. I want to see you face to face. I want to see who you are. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see me? Am I visible?
Let me see if visible. I can see, but let me try whether you'll see me.
Anyway, I can't see you, but all the same, what is important is our discussion.
Yes.
Is our class discussion. So we are the two of you only, eh? We are the two of us, sorry.
Right.
I seem not to see Mary or Joanne. Ah, yeah, good. Richard, there you are. Your video is now on. It's very much visible. Good, good. So our conversation goes on the question that has been posed to us. Maybe we can touch on it and see how well we can try to answer it or try to disseminate a solution out of it. So the question is, what leadership skills and perspective are critical for success now and in the future? The leadership skill, what leadership skills and perspectives are critical for success now and in the future? Maybe it's good to understand what are the leadership skills challenges that we do have. Maybe around us in our organization we are affiliated to, or in the society we are in. I believe probably it's actually talking about the gaps or the challenges that we have. So what do you understand with this question, and how best can we try to answer it? I'm also asking myself the same question. We need to unwrap it. What is your view about it, Richard? Richard, you can hear me?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I can't hear you.
I am muted. You can hear me now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'm saying, I think
Yes.
these leadership skills and perspectives are the same things we are talking about, gaps. Because when you bridge those gaps, I think you have tackled those skills and perspectives. They are complete. But now when you talk about leadership skills and perspectives, which are critical, I think one of them is information. We lack information. We lack know-how. And a lot of business are just done traditional way, the way person has seen their parents do sell things, pay. And that is also the way I've done business before. And even now, I think I'm also doing it traditional way, not that professional. But there are guys whom I've seen who are doing business professionally. They have gained some skills. But so far, I think I've gained some skills enough just to make me improve in some areas, especially to make my business a success. When it comes to record keeping, which is also a problem, it's also a skill to me, because most of us think just writing receipts it's enough. But I found it's not still enough for you to have a successful business, or to be a successful person, or to lead successfully. So I think these skills, I think it's broad. It's broad to me. I'm trying to understand. I'm thinking loud. So I think it will help me understand more on these leadership skills and perspectives which are critical for success now in the future. For me, my main point is about now the information which we lack, and I think which is one of the skills we are trying to get from this global leaders. Yes. over to you.
Thank you. In the same, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well and clear.
All right. You know, some noise in the background. I thought maybe you could not hear me. Yes, there's some noise. Some noise in the background.
Hear you well.
Now you can hear me, yes.
Your background, I can hear you.
All right.
Hey, stop. Please stop what you're doing. Okay.
Good. I believe some of the challenges we are facing right now, and it's been echoed by the lack of skills that has been mentioned in our topic. One of the areas that I believe we are lacking right now is good leadership. Lack of good leadership in the sense of lack of inspiration. We are lacking leaders who are inspirational, who have inspiration to lead, leaders who have no commitment and zeal of their work. We have at most we have leaders who are led by what is leaders who are selfish, who do not who do not have commitment, but they are selfish. They only want to gain for themselves, but not for the organization. In other words, they look at what is important for them, but not the big picture for the organization. I also see lack of leaders who are not out for change. They are not bold enough to create changes in the organization that they live in or they are leading. So I feel there is that kind of a gap because they're not bold enough or not ready for creating changes. It's difficult to create change and to live with change. So they're not bold enough generally. So those are some of the areas that I can mention here. So it's actually generally lack of leadership, lack of boldness, lack of commitment to the work. There's no zeal in what one is doing or what in the organization they are leading. So they lack that kind of zeal to their work. I think that's one of the areas that I can mention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sava. We actually came back to the main room, all of us, and we've been listening.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. Thank you.
Yeah, probably you can mention what Richard also mentioned, just to represent your team. So in addition to what you have mentioned, maybe you can also mention as a team, and then we'll move on to the other team also.
Can I request Richard to say to mention what he mentioned?
Yeah, that's also okay. So probably Richard, you can unmute and just mention what you had talked about.
Yeah, I talked of lack of information, which I believe is also covered in this the four most important skills. But it's a major one, lack of information. Because I think we lack so much information, basic information on how to run a business. And, I think most of the business and most of companies, you find that they are run by individuals, and it's just what they know. It's just the things they have known, it's just the things they have inherited from their fathers. That is the same way they are doing things. So they lack information, and you find that they are not ready for change. Change in a how it's a threat to their business. And I can also put that to selfishness. And that's one of the mentioned. You find people that are selfish. It's about them. When somebody dies, they die with them. So it's not about anybody else, it's about them and them alone. So that's all.
Thank you so much, Richard. I've noted that information, and I think that's why we're in such kind of forums, just to be able to enrich ourselves. Information, I'm putting it together with knowledge, maybe knowledge in terms of what we are, the business we are doing or the work we are engaging in. You had also mentioned something to do with record keeping in terms of maybe in your context, in your business, and how to professionally run the business that you are doing. So I think this will come out in our discussions as we continue. And I think those were quite enriching discussions. Thank you so much, Room 1, Mr. Sava and Mr. Richard. Yes. So we'll move on to Sami. At some point, Mary Joanne, I realized you were left alone, so I moved you to join Edwin and Chege, so we can also listen in to your discussion as we come to a close. So I think whoever is doing guiding the discussions, just take it up.
Good evening again. Let me take up and represent Room 1. We had 5 points. So the first point, first thing that we identified as a leadership gap was the mindset. Our mindset as it can start with communities, our mindset as Kenyans, our mindset as Africans, and even our mindset as human beings is limiting us from being the leaders that we should be. And an example that Edwin told us was, we believe that leaders are born and not that leaders are made. And he gave us an example whereby Kenyans, we start talking about dynasties in quotes, and we believe only leaders from this certain tribe, from this certain clan can only lead us. And we also don't think about the other communities. When you ask a Kenyan who can lead you, they will only count maybe 10 communities. Some may not even reach 10 communities. So we have those minor communities around, and people will not look at them as leaders. And those people from those communities will also have that mindset that only these kind of people, these people from these communities can lead us. So the mindset is a leadership gap that limits us to push forward and push further. Number 2 is the competence. As a person, you may want to be called a leader, but how competent are you? Are you able to guide, or you just want to be a you just want to be called, you just want people to know that you occupy a certain position, but you are not competent enough to do the duties, do the responsibilities in that position. Number 3, and this is the same as room 2, what you discussed, but we identified it as lack of information. But on the other hand, it can be also information abundance. So leadership, there may be a leadership gap because of lack of information. So people don't have those solutions to problems, how they can deal with a certain problem. So lack of information. But on the other hand, it can also be information abundance. I mean, people are faced with a certain problem, but they have very many solutions and they don't know which is the best solution for them. And an example can be Google, an example can be YouTube. People think that they are specialists, people think that they are experts just because of the internet, and they believe they can be problem solvers of any problem that comes to their to them. Number 4 is a cultural barrier. So our cultures, different cultures, can be a leadership gap. So number 1, you can look at it as a leader, you can be able to lead your community, you can be able to lead a certain let me say type in quotes, a certain type of people because of their way of life. But when you are taken from the environment that you can practice your leadership, then taken to a different kind of environment where they practice a different culture, maybe they are more knowledgeable or less knowledgeable, their way of life is a little bit different, then your leadership skills cannot be seen in that environment. And cultural barrier can also come in, maybe even in our political lives, where we want to support people from our communities, and I think this is very normal. This is very something that is popular in Kenya. So you want to support people from your own community, and you fail to look at this other person from this other community, while the other person that is not from your community is well able to perform these tasks, these duties, more than this person from your community. So you tend to support someone from your tribe and such like things. Forget about someone who is more able to even do the duties and even maybe do it better. Number 5 is, I take it as the pride that comes with the position that you hold. So we take it like maybe you are in a managerial position. So the pride in you makes you not to perform certain duties, makes you not to stretch your hand and try to get solutions. If people approach you with a certain problem, you take it as if you cannot perform such a task. Not really perform such a task, you just take it as if you cannot perform this task because you are high above such duties. Maybe you take it ni kazi ya mkono, something like that. So you leave it for watu wa mkono to do it, and your work is maybe to just put signs and make sure documents move. I mean, you do lighter things, You just sign documents and you don't want to stretch your hand to get solutions to things. And you don't even entertain different solutions from different people. Probably I may add one more that I wanted to add. I believe a leadership gap that we mostly experience as Kenyans is that we are theory planners and not practical when it comes to doing the groundwork, doing the practical work. We miss a lot. But when it comes to theories, when you want to say, let's do 1, 2, 3, we are able to open our mouths and say, I want to do 1, 2, 3 things. But when it comes to the practicals, now the actions, we are limited when it comes to such things. Thank you. That was all from Edwin, Mary Joanne, and I. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tims. That was quite enriching. 10 minutes, but you've been able to discuss quite a lot. And I think I will not re-echo what you have said, because basically I think all of us have been able to listen in. But I think we appreciate why such kind of discussions are very important, so that we are able to sieve through the information that will enrich us to be better leaders. As you have clearly said, you can either experience lack of information or overload of information. And if there is an overload, then it becomes a challenge, which is the right information that will help us to become better leaders. So, and in such kind of discussions, then we are able to look around and critically be able to sieve through. So I'll conclude by saying, I think in terms of the mindset is to become intentional leaders. Intentional leaders, I'm leading on intention, and I'm a leader because I am a leader. I'm a leader because I know I'm a leader and I've chosen to be a leader. And when I'm an intentional leader, then I will want to become a better leader, because I first believe I am one. And first, I intentionally know that I have to take the roles of a leader, because there are many times I think we try to look at this role from far side, and that makes us not to be able to intentionally grow. But when we start looking at it from this intentional perspective, then it helps us to really engage in such kind of discussions to become better. Number two, I'll mention the issue of continual growth. Continual growth. What we are calling learning agility, a hunger for knowledge as leaders. I think if I'm hungry for knowledge, just the way Richard said, I want to improve. And how do I improve? Most of this information probably might be around us, which will just take us another step to be able to channel through and be able to fill that hunger with the information that I'm able to get out there, and most specifically in this kind of environment. So continual growth. And then finally, I think mindset shift is very, very deliberate, very powerful, but it starts from the kind of discussion that we are talking about, where we enrich ourselves with the information that is continuously help us to reflect on our thinking. And we started with a very simple quote last week, a quote by our third president, Mwai Kibaki. And he said, leadership is a privilege to better the lives of others. And that is kind of information that really leads to a mindset shift. When I start looking at leadership from that kind of thinking, then I'll look at it as a privilege, and I will be asking myself, even if I'm running a business or I'm running an organization, how am I bettering the life of the people that I'm leading? If I'm leading a family, how am I bettering the life of the people that I'm leading? So I just want to conclude by saying this is a very sober discussion, a very sober discussion, a very, very important discussion. We are just laying the foundation. we start getting into more critical issues as we continue. But I think today we have been able to highlight and agree there is a leadership challenge, there is a leadership gap. And we've been able to identify a few areas where we feel there are gaps. And we'll be looking at now how do we address these particular areas of challenge as we continue. So I challenge all of us just to think about probably a practical step that you're going to take as a leader. You've talked about so many challenges or so many gaps, and let's put it at a personal level. You as a leader at a personal level, what gap do you feel you experience, and also the gap that I feel I experience, and the practical step that I need to take to be able to bridge that gap. So that will help us just to be able to narrow down and to be able to look at in-out transformation, even as we help to be able to shape other leaders out there. So I want to pause there because of time. And I just want to appreciate all of you for very, very, very provocative, very insightful, very enriching discussions. I think this is really good, and I'm sure we'll getting better every day. So I just want to close it there. I think I'll not ask for takeaway today because we have really discussed. So unless there is any comment or any question, I think we are good to close. Is there any comment? Okay, so if there is none, I'll request all of us to unmute, and we can share the words of grace together as we close. So we can all unmute. Mr. Asava, you can also unmute. We'll share the words of grace together. Okay, so may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love
of God,
the fellowship of the Holy
the
Spirit
Holy Spirit,
be with us
be with us
now
now and
and
forevermore.
forevermore. Amen.
Amen.
Mbarikiwe sana na muwe na usiku mwema.
Thank you, same to you, and good night.
Good night.